Hi, my name is Gerhard Schwant, and welcome to Selling Power TV. Today we have the pleasure of meeting with Ray Mackler. He is the CEO of SRG, that's the Sales Readiness Group. Welcome, Ray.
Well, thank you, Gerhard. It's great to be here today.
So we live in an age where everything is accelerating, and there are a lot of companies that experience rapid growth. So tell us about the challenges that those companies have with getting their salespeople up to speed.
Yeah, and I think it's a great question because we often see that as, the challenges, and I'll say, for instance, in fast growth SaaS companies, tech companies, right? We can't hire fast enough. There aren't enough good salespeople. We need to hire, we need to onboard. And I think the problem's a little deeper than that. And we're seeing it a lot with clients that we're helping and working with these days, which is it's not just a matter of attracting the right caliber of sales professional and ramping them up, but we need to manage them and we need to motivate them and we really need to manage their performance and coach them. And unfortunately, that falls on the frontline sales manager, and that's often a gap in those organizations, especially as fast as they're growing.
So why do you think that is?
Well, I think what we see often is they are growing fast. If you think about a SaaS company, they may be growing 50 to 100% a year, as opposed to an industry 5-10% a year. So they're growing so rapidly, bringing on people that they can't hire enough sales managers, and they're promoting, which is great, promoting from within. But today's sales manager may be yesterday's SDR or sales development rep. And so they're not coming with the sales management skills, the leadership experience, or really any expectation of what that role is like. And the things that made them good sellers, as we know, may not equate or may not be the skills they need as a good sales manager. Not to say they can't get there, but they don't naturally transfer over.
The conversations I have with people at Sales 3.0 conference, I hear from so many rapid growth companies that are really confused about what kind of sales model to choose that fits their industry best. And so if you're not clear about the sales model, how do you fill those positions?
Yeah, and I think having a sales model and then having managers who have a clear playbook or roadmap of how to manage it. And frankly, I think the model could be pretty simple in terms of stages or go to market, but we need the managers to be equipped to set the expectations, to be able to manage the performance, and then if there's a gap in performance, to know what to do about it. And I think we often fall down there on providing the tools and the training and the knowledge that the managers need to do that.
Because there's so many new disciplines emerging, and there's so many tech tools, and a lot of companies hire people to run the tech tools instead of running the entire process.
Yeah, I think technology, though, it's fantastic. It's enabling us to do things that we've never done before. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of it does come back on the frontline manager to be able to be there and manage and support. Now they've got great data, they've got great tools and analytics, but they need to have those conversations. They need to have those one-on-ones and those coaching conversations to really drive the results that we're looking for.
So give me an example of how you've worked with a rapid growth company, and how do you help them with a structured approach to training and onboarding and measuring their performance?
Yeah, a couple of examples I can think of where, especially with tech companies, they have great analytics and a great dashboard, if you will. And when we ask, okay, so what do you do with that? Or how is that being utilized? It's like, well, we look at it and then we send it out and we tell them if they're not meeting the expectations. And unfortunately, they're really looking at lagging indicators, right? They're just looking at the results on the scorecard. And so we've helped change that conversation to really think about the leading indicators. In other words, what are the behaviors that are going to produce the results? Let's prioritize those. Let's make sure we're very clear about those 2 or 3 priorities that you want them to accomplish. And then if there's a gap, what can we do? Is it a training? Is it a coaching? Is it a counseling? Maybe there's a roadblock in their way. Or as we often find, maybe we haven't been as good at clarifying those expectations and giving them feedback as we could have been, and we need to start there.
So another issue that I see is storytelling. For new rapid growth companies, they need to have a very clear story about what the product is going to do in terms of creating value for the customer. Is that something that you address in your courses?
Yeah, I think in terms of the training and the coaching that a manager can provide, they need to be role playing that. They need to be helping practice. Oftentimes that's in a playbook, right? There's been
Right.
some product training or
Right.
some storytelling training, but that's not enough, as we've talked about. Now we need the managers to say, let's keep practicing that. Let's make that a priority for this quarter or this month to focus on that story. Or in our sales meeting every Friday, we're going to focus on another story. We're going to do that. I wrote a blog a couple years ago about the sales manager becoming the chief training officer of their sales team. And I really think that's the way to think of it, is the
Yeah.
manager
Right.
needs to really own the train. There's never going to be enough outside training, external training, resources. The manager should be thinking in every sales meeting and every one-on-one, how can we improve our skills? How can we reinforce those things like good storytelling?
So Ray, you've worked with many different companies, with many sales managers, with a lot of talent. And the one question we haven't addressed is, how do you as a manager avoid burning out salespeople? Because turnover is very expensive and managers burn out often. So how do you address that issue?
Yeah, we have a whole section and concept in our book about motive, and motives is an acronym, and I won't go into all of those. But what are the internal motivators for the people on your team? Do we understand? Some people may be motivated by money, others just being independent, or being autonomous, or being a team player. So understanding the individual motivators, which may be very different than our own, I think is a good place to start. And then trying to make it, yes, we're going to give constructive feedback, but we're also, as I joke, catch them doing something right. So let's reinforce the positive where we want them to continue and we want to build on that, and then give them, constructive feedback as necessary. But I think we want to find out what's the win for that individual. And people do want to be recognized, they want to be appreciated, and so let's help them understand what's going right and then build and improve those things that aren't.
Do you think that burnout is an issue in sales?
Oh, it absolutely is. And I think, as we know, people tend to quit their manager before they quit the organization or they quit their compensation. So if that's one of the reasons that the ROI on training managers to be better managers, coaches, and leaders is so important, because otherwise what we're saying is just we want more activity, we want more results, we want more sales. We need managers to really engage that individual and help to motivate and lead them.
And final question, where do those rapid growth companies go to find new sales talent? Is it better to hire from the competition or from other industries? What's your advice?
Yeah, and I think, if you find that superstar that's working for the competitor, you should always be keeping that Rolodex, of your next great hire. But I do think you can make a great rep. In fact, I just heard the story of somebody whose best rep was selling tea, I think, before. But it's more the best athlete. They had the athletic skills, if you will, to be a great player. They had the good communication skills, the listening skills, and they could learn the other pieces quick enough. So I think hiring for those competencies and behaviors that you're looking for is going to set you up for success. So I think you can look across industry and across disciplines to find really that true exceptional talent. And I'll just add one more piece to that. On my list is always going to be grit and perseverance. So I'll take the hockey player. And we have a client who actually screens for that. But the hockey player knows how to get scrappy, how to work hard, how to be disciplined, and I'll take that person over somebody who maybe had an easier time.
What
even
about
with
a
a higher
retired Marine?
Well, that could be a good place to look. Yeah, the military provides a great learning ground and proving ground for a lot of those skills for that reason.
They're all more motivated.
They can be, and you can see that, and you can see what have they done in their past that's going to indicate that when push comes to shove, they're going to make the extra calls, or they're going to pick up the phone, or they're going to drive across town and visit. They're going to get scrappy to do what's necessary to get that deal.
They'll do whatever it takes for as long as it takes to make the sale.
I want that person on my team.
Thank you so much, Ray.
Thank you, Gerhard.